Do you guys need to lower the mic, or are you good?
No, that's good.
Good. Good. Everyone okay? Okay. I think we're
Good.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jeff Walther. I'm the Chief of Police for the Scottsdale Police Department. I'll give you an update on an officer-involved shooting and one of our officers being shot this evening around 7 p.m., a little after 7 p.m. Detectives from the Scottsdale Police Department Special Assignments Unit were serving a search warrant at a apartment complex in downtown Phoenix, for a suspect wanted in a number of crimes. And at that contact at the front door, we encountered a woman and a child. We removed them from that apartment, and were told that no one else was in the apartment. My detectives, again from the Special Assignments Unit, started to move into that door, recognized somebody down a hallway that peered out and looked at them that the detectives believed was the suspect that we had a warrant for. And that suspect then ducked his head back in to a room behind a wall. The detectives set up to talk to the suspect and try to apprehend the suspect, and were met with gunfire through a wall. A number of shots were fired, and the sergeant of the Special Assignments Unit was struck. Immediately evacuated out of that apartment via one of the Scottsdale Fire Department SWAT medics, who is on as part of our Special Assignments Unit and SWAT team at that time, and removed from that down to a lower floor. That suspect was engaged by gunfire by another one of our Special Assignments Unit's detectives, and unknown if that suspect was struck, he fled over the second floor balcony and into the neighborhood and fled the scene. Incredible response by our partners in the Phoenix Police Department, who responded to that location en masse. It was fantastic. We have an incredible relationship with Chief Sullivan and the Phoenix Police Department. They responded, and it set up a great perimeter, but as of this time, the suspect has not been captured. The Phoenix Police Department, in concert with the Scottsdale Police Department, will continue to look for this suspect to ensure his apprehension. Until that time, we're going to continue to work that case. The detective is currently in the hospital, surrounded and is expected to survive. And so at this time, we're going to continue to move forward with this investigation. I have just a thought process for our community, just to give some thought to this notion that we have to ask ourselves a question of, when did this become okay? The Phoenix Police Department has seen this. The Scottsdale Police Department has now seen this. Other police departments in the valley and the state have seen this, an increased number of aggravated assaults on police officers, shootings of police officers. And I think we have to start asking some tough questions of when this became okay. And ultimately, we will release a name down the road to help with the investigation if we don't capture him immediately. And so that I want that question to resonate with our populace of, when did this become okay? Because at some point, this person is going to seek refuge. And we ask that you ask yourself the question of, when did it become okay, and recognize that it's never going to be okay. And so we may be asking for the public's help in apprehension of this violent, armed individual. And I'm happy to take questions, but that's currently where we are tonight.
The officer, is it a sergeant or a detective?
He's a sergeant. He's a detective sergeant.
Okay, and how many times was he injured?
We believe he was shot just once, yes.
And do you know where? Is this suspect considered armed and dangerous right now?
Yes.
So is there anything that you can tell the public about if they see someone, or what should they be looking for?
We don't have all the information that we're going to put out right now. We're still at the very beginning of this investigation, and so we're going to let that investigation play out. We don't believe that this suspect has intentions to harm people in the public. We do believe that he is now fleeing, and so we'll release more information as the investigation progresses, but we want to keep some of that close to the vest due to investigative leads.
And do we know where this detective was shot?
He was shot in the lower abdomen.
And this suspect, obviously he was wanted for crimes. How serious were these crimes of this suspect?
He is a violent criminal.
Whenever they encountered him, did that sergeant that was armed, did he also shoot, or was it only?
He did not shoot. He was struck, and one of his detectives next to him returned fire.
And it was through the wall?
the suspect initially fired through the wall, and then we believe that at some point the suspect was likely seen, and that's when officers exchanged fire.
So did this suspect barricade someone else's apartment?
No.
Another room?
No, we believe that we went to that specific location to look for that specific person.
Is it believed that he lived there?
I don't know that.
Okay. Any surrounding of the apartments there? Maybe they could have been hurt. He could have jumped to there.
No, we believe with the excellent response from the Phoenix Police Department that we are confident that he is not in and around that area, that he fled that area.
What do you want the community to know tonight? As we have this suspect who is armed and dangerous in our community, what do you want them to keep aware of?
Well, I think that's a great question. I think it's something that we should always be asking ourselves. Every day that we're out there is an opportunity for us to be vigilant. I'm not suggesting that we live in fear, but I am suggesting that we recognize that we live in a society where sometimes violence takes place, and if we're completely complacent in how we walk through the parking lot at the mall, how we walk to convenience stores or spend time in shopping centers, we still have to recognize that there are those people in our society who want to prey upon the innocent, or who want to prey upon police officers doing a noble service and standing in service of the community. And so we just have to recognize that. That's what has happened in our community today. And so we need to recognize that we need to be a little bit more vigilant. So that's what I would tell the community, is that just keep your eyes and ears open. And I hate to be so cliche, but if you see something, say something, but there is truth to that. You have to recognize that there is truth to that. And if you see something out of the ordinary, you know this individual, because this individual will have conversations with people in their peer group. It's time to say something. It's time to stand up and recognize that our community is only as strong as those who are willing to have conversation and to bring forward those who would prey on others. And so it's that vigilance that's important.
Have you spoken to the detective?
I've kind of did the chief thing and stepped back and allowed his family, his wife, to all have conversation. He has his in-laws are here, his parents are here, his brothers here. So there's a large family, a large police family, but there's also a large family. And as soon as I'm done with this, he and I are going to have a conversation.
What can you tell us about him? How long has he been in the force?
I'm not going to release any of that right now, just kind of for the privacy of the family, and we will release that very quickly, though.
Why was it that that you guys were serving the Warren instead of Phoenix involved?
So I will tell you, just in Arizona, jurisdictions rarely matter. Crime is so transient, it moves throughout the valley, and the Phoenix metropolitan area is so large and so mobile that the crimes being perpetrated in Scottsdale are also being perpetrated in Phoenix and Chandler and Gilbert and Mesa. And so each of us works our cases and our leads in connection with one another. So this was a Scottsdale case, a crime in Scottsdale, a violent crime in Scottsdale, cert, and the warrant was being served. My special assignments unit, or think of this as your SWAT team. But I didn't have the full SWAT team there. I had just my special assignments unit. So our case, so we're moving forward with that in Phoenix.
Were there any Phoenix officers with you guys as well?
No Phoenix officers were with us at that time.
How long has he been on the force?
I'm not going to talk about that right now. I'm not going to give any details about the length of service for him, but suffice it to say, very tenured officer. If you reach the kind of the pinnacle in a police department of a special assignments unit, you've been with us for a while.
What can you tell us about an arrest warrant? Was it to get some DNA?
Yeah, not going to go into that kind of detail.
Anything that people right now watching on a Friday night and knowing that there's an officer that's been injured, and like how she mentioned, there's somebody out there who's just, on the run with a gun who injured an officer. What is a message for anybody that's watching?
Yeah, and I'll go back to the vigilance message for the people who are sitting and watching TV and watching this, but I also want that thought process of, I think it's easy that the police officers who respond to calls for service every day, who stand for the community, who, if we recognize that the vast majority of people in this country and in this world are either unable or unwilling to protect themselves, you have men and women come forward who say, I want to do that. I want to protect and serve. And sometimes, in fact, all too often, this is what's happening now. They're being shot or punched or stabbed or assaulted. And so it's important for us to recognize that this might be a 30-second or 5-second soundbite on the news, but this is a life. This is a life of service. This is somebody who is sworn to protect the community for years and years and years. And this was a group of men on the Special Assignments Unit trying to take a violent offender off the streets, not of Scottsdale, not of Phoenix, but of the valley and of the state. And so we have to look at this and recognize that this is not okay, that if we continue along this path, I promise you, fewer and fewer people are going to raise their hand and say, I want to protect and serve, because things are getting out of control violent in the valley and in the country, and we have to recognize that, and there has to be a reckoning for that, and we have to be willing to ask hard questions and make hard decisions to come to that reckoning.
How long is the area expected to be either
It'll
locked down?
probably lock down for a little while longer, but I anticipate that will break down after a period of time once the Phoenix Police Department is comfortable that the suspect is not in the surrounding area.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yep.